Hi, Bob Janicek here again, aka Mr. J. And this historical event is about our 22nd and 24th president, Grover Cleveland. Yes, he was the only president to serve two terms non consecutively. He won in 1884, very, very close election. Lost in 1888 to Benjamin Harrison, grandson of William Henry Harrison, in another very close election, but then beat Benjamin Harrison in 1892, which is where our story is going to pick up in a moment. Just some interesting, quick little facts about Grover Cleveland. No, he did not pitch for the Philadelphia Athletics in the early 1900s. That was Grover Cleveland Alexander. But Grover Cleveland was our second bachelor president in his first term. About a year in, he did marry Frances Folsom, who was the daughter of his best friend who had died many years earlier. And she became the youngest first lady we have ever had. She was 21 years old. He was 49. 28 years age difference, but they lasted until Grover Cleveland actually died, until he was about 71 years old. So that was, I thought that was interesting. Grover Cleveland also got up to about 300 pounds, so he and Taft, our heaviest presidents. He was also known as the veto president because he just felt the government should not do many of the things that Congress wanted it to do, and vetoed almost as many bills as FDR had done, and considering FDR did that in over 3 terms. But let's get now, oh, and also Grover Cleveland, actually born in New Jersey, but he did do most of his growing up in that raucous town of Buffalo, New York. But we will get to our story now. When he was elected a second time, Grover Cleveland, that was 1892, the United States in a bad recession. By taking office in 1893, we were in what they call the Panic of 1893. It was terrible. Over 400 banks actually closed in that first year. Reading Railroad went bankrupt. Many others also went bankrupt. Actually, over 100 small railroads throughout the country in that first year went bankrupt. Things were terrible. And Grover, one morning, found something in his mouth. Going to his dentist, it was unfortunately what they called back then the disease, or the dread disease. That's right, it was cancer. Right away, Grover Cleveland said, with the economy and the country in the shape that it's in, having just gone through this just a little while ago with President Grant when he died horrifically of cancer, he said, I am not going to let the people know about this until we can figure out what we can do and if we can make me healthy again. So believe it or not, Grover Cleveland planned an operation without telling his wife, his cabinet members, his vice president. He got 5 doctors and dentists. He got his good friend, Elias Benedict, who used to go fishing in Long Island Sound off his yacht, the Oneida, named, by the way, after the Oneida Iroquois tribe, which was the first Indian tribe to support the Americans in the American Revolution. He got him to donate his yacht, told the country, it was just before the 4th of July, 1893, I'm going on a fishing trip, and just using nitrous oxide, good old laughing gas, and ether, which they didn't want to use because of its side effects, but they had to, um, putting him asleep for a short time, actually only about an hour. They operated on Grover Cleveland. They took out 5 teeth, part of his upper jaw, and about a third of his palate, and then fit him for a prosthesis, and did all of this on the Oneida, a 130-foot yacht in Long Island Sound. What's funny is the surgery was a stunning success. Even before the surgery, they were passing by Bellevue Hospital in New York City, and he had the doctors all hide because some of them had worked there. They didn't want anyone to see anything. So they carried off this phenomenal surgery with even the prosthetic and getting him used to that, not speaking, of course, until he mastered that, and told the public he simply had a combination of rheumatism and some minor dental work done. Well, you can't really keep everything a secret. And one of the doctors who had to be let off early and was a little upset because he couldn't get to one of his patients on time actually told the story. And E.J. Edwards, who was a rather famous reporter at the time, actually got wind of this story, of this secret operation, and printed it. The White House categorically denied it. Grover Cleveland said, absolutely, this is not true. They went over the same story over and over. The public believed Grover Cleveland because he was a very honest man. During his first election, they accused him of having an affair with someone. Well, he wasn't married, obviously, but he had a relationship. This lady had a baby. It was never proven that Grover Cleveland was the father, but he paid for the upkeep of the child anyway. His opponents were going to use this story, and he said, go ahead. He came out and said, this is, what happened. There's nothing wrong with this. This is an upstanding lady and whatever. And the public actually thought more of him for telling the truth and being honest. So he got that moniker of being a very honest president, so they believed him. E.J. Edwards' career was never the same after that. But he didn't hold a grudge because he obviously realized he had his reasons. Sadly, by the way, the 1893 recession was still horrible, and it wasn't till almost at the end of Grover Cleveland's term that he was able to start helping the country get out of its economic problems. But to just put an ending to this, the famous doctor, Dr. Keene, who was one of the doctors who did a lot of the work, famous because he actually did brain surgery, first successful brain operation in the 1800s. 24 years after this mysterious surgery, he came out, everyone else was dead, asked permission from Frances, his bride, if he could tell the story. She said yes, and he came out and printed this story to the newspapers to let everyone know that this did happen and that it was actually a medical miracle. And E.J. Edwards was still alive, and so he was exonerated, was obviously happy beyond words, got together with Dr. Keene, thanked him, but again, Edwards never held a grudge. He understood what the intent was. So anyway, a pretty amazing story. I don't think something like that could happen today. The president actually hiding an operation the way he did. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Story number 2. And sorry it was a little longer than the first one. Hope you made it through this video. And if you like it, we'll be back with more. Have a good day. Thanks for listening. Bye.